welcome to Podnutz Daily for August 27, 2008, episode number 65. Let me start out by reading some emails here, just get warmed up a little bit. I'm still trying to formulate the show notes in my head of what we did today. Okay, got a bunch of emails, guys, so I'm going to read a bunch of them here, and if whatever I don't get done today, I'll just keep going down the line, but thank you for all the input. Josh writes, just wanted to comment on your episode number 23 with Steve, he says. Okay, I use a tackle box. Okay, Josh writes, this is what Josh writes. Just wanted to comment on episode number 23 with Steve. I use a tackle box for a fisherman on my on-site toolkit. I got a decent-sized box, not too big, not too small. This is handy because it has multiple layers that open when you open the tackle box. This helps me keep everything organized. I even labeled each of the little containers inside the tackle box so I know if I'm missing something when I leave the client's house. I have about one of every little tool I'll need in this tackle box, but I also keep a small backpack in the trunk of the bigger hardware. I also keep a small backpack in my trunk of the bigger hardware I may need during an on-site call. In the backpack, I carry a good bootable DVD drive. This is because I often get to their house and I cannot boot to my diagnostic CDs or DVDs either because their drive is bad or so old or not AT-API compatible, or they don't have a DVD-ROM drive and my diagnostics are on a DVD. This is extremely handy. I also carry a good power supply with SATA connectors and the 20/24 pin connector with the 4-pin connector too. I carry an extra hard drive to quickly back up to and a router for network diagnostics. I also carry a USB dial-up modem. You wouldn't believe how many times I've used this. Other than that, I throw a few extra power cables, USB cables, RJ45 cables in there, and away I go. I make sure to check both my backpack and my tackle box about once a week and replenish what I've used throughout the week. Well, that's it. Have a great week, Steve. Talk to you soon. Keep up the great work, Josh. And that's Josh from C Graphics. I think it's cgraphics.com. And that's CGRAFIKS. Thanks, Josh. Steve brought up some good points about what the hardware he carries and to do a job. And, any emails are welcome. I'd love to hear more people's what people are carrying around doing tools for on-site work. A backpack, tackle box, that's all good stuff. Okay, thanks, Josh. Next message is from Hamrad. Do you store your software tools on CD or on thumb drive? Maybe you could have someone discuss the tools they would put on or have put on a thumb drive. I've begun fixing for free friends and neighbors' computers, and I'm trying to build a software tool set on either CD or thumb drive or both, depending on what I can use to troubleshoot problems. Okay, Hamrad. Well, I'll give you the general gist of what I put on my thumb drive, and then maybe I'll post it up in the forums or somewhere, or I'll announce it on the show exactly what's on there. But from memory, I have Internet Explorer 7. I have AVG version 8. I have a version of Avast, the latest version of Avast. I have Smith Fraud Fix. I have Combo Fix, Vundo Fix. I have a copy of MS Config because on Windows 2000 PCs, there is no MS Config. What else? Let me think. I know I have some more stuff on there. That's all I can think of right now. That's some of the stuff I have. Oh, Super Anti-Spyware's on there. And CCleaner's on there. That's pretty much most of what I have on my thumb drive. And I use it a lot. Almost every PC I'm throwing my thumb drive in there. Okay, Matt writes, Steve, I love the show. I don't trust Windows System Restore. It's never worked for me. Hopefully you can help me out. I want to create 3 partitions on these computers. I work for a small company. One partition would be the active partition, the C drive. The second partition would be a reset to factory partition. And the third would be a recent backup, maybe weekly maybe, of the active partition. Making a factory reset I can do no problem. But how can I create a partition that would image the active partition as a regularly scheduled process? This way, if the computer gets infected or whatnot, I'll have either a recent backup I can restore to or just reset the thing to factory and be done with it. I've seen it done, but those people wouldn't go into details. Job security, I assume. Thanks for the help, Matt. Matt, I'm reading this email for the first time, so I didn't have a chance to check it out. I don't know if a Cronus or Norton Ghost or a program like that actually does scheduled cloning. And or disk imaging, whatever you want to call it, and it looks like what you want to do. I have to look into that, but if you're in the chat, or if anybody's in the chat, maybe you could post that. Or Matt, if you want to start a post in the Podnutz forums, it's at podnutz.com/forums. Start a post in there. There's a lot of assistance going on in the forums, and maybe somebody has a good answer for you. But I have to check on that, and maybe I'll bring that up in a later podcast. Okay, guys, I want to play a MP3, almost like a voicemail. This is from Mark from Indiana. I can't play it. It's on the wrong computer. I'm going to dig it up on the other computer while I'm talking here. Actually, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'll play Mark's message later. As I'm playing some of the voicemails, I'll find Mark's MP3. Okay. Let me see if there's anything here. Okay. Okay. Okay, let me read this one here. It's written small, so I might mess up a couple of the words. Hey, Steve, love the podcast. I wanted to comment on some issues I've heard lately. First, I heard Cynthia and I believe Simon say they were deleting Spyware Doctor from clients' computers since they were slowing them down. I had the same issue with my son's XP desktop. I resolved it without installing the program by turning off the real-time protection. It's called On Guard. This allows you to keep an excellent program without sacrificing performance. I have found Spyware Doctor to be able to remove some malware programs, other programs failed to catch, including Super Anti-Spyware. Let me just read that again so it doesn't come out wrong. I have found Spyware Doctor to be able to remove some malware other programs failed to catch, including Super Anti-Spyware. Leaf blowers, actually, I use one, a STIHL gas-powered handheld version. This sucker has a lot of power, so I don't get closer than a foot away. I use it a little differently, though. On this model, you can reverse the suction and use it to vacuum the dust off from a distance. I then remove the bag on the side that collects the stuff, reverse the flow, and blow the remaining dust away using it as a traditional blower. Works great, and I never sucked any RAM or video cards off the motherboard. That's really interesting, Mark. So you use it as a vacuum, and then you blow out all the dust. Pretty neat. On automatically removing IE6, I always recommend an IE7 upgrade, but once I had an issue. Seems the client used IE6 with some proprietary program to fill out his timesheet for his employer. Oops, it didn't work with IE7. Needless to say, he wasn't pleased with that upgrade. I also wanted to give a shout-out to Barbara for doing an awesome job with the show notes. I love her additional commentaries. Thanks again, Mark. Thanks, Mark, and thanks again, Barbara, for the show notes. I also have a voicemail, and Barbara's mentioned in the voicemail, too. I think she's taken over the show.